All right, so let's do this one together. And I left some of the items blank just so we could show the math together. So the key financial ratios are, first, the asset to sales ratio. Guess what? It's assets divided by sales. Not too tough. So that ratio is 60%. That means for every dollar of sales, we need 60 cents in new assets. Wow, that seems like a lot. What's that for? Well, it could be for funding of receivables, it could be for funding of inventory, or it could be funding for new fixed assets necessary to support the production or distribution for that level of sales. So it's the total assets for every dollar of sales that we need. Next is spontaneous liabilities compared to sales. Spontaneous liabilities are mainly accounts payable and accrued liabilities. So we're given that data above. These are the current liabilities that are just the non-financial liabilities. And then we'll divide that by sales. And we'll get 4%. So we could expect that our liabilities would rise by 4% if we grow sales. And those are from our vendors or our employees or our normal business associates, but not from debt. And the profit margin, that is net income divided by sales, which is 3.3%. Next is the payout ratio. We're given that the dividends were $20 and our profit is 66. So the ratio is that we pay out $20 for the $66 that we earned. So the payout ratio is 30.3%, which means that for every dollar we earn, we pay out to our shareholders 30.3%, which means the flip side, we keep the difference, or 69.7%, in the company for funding its growth. As far as the calculations below, we can now solve it. The first factor is the assets needed, which is 60% times the growth in sales, new sales, which is $200. The spontaneous liabilities, we're going to get 4% times the new sales. And we're going to get that from our vendors. And then the last part is the reinvested profits. So we're going to earn profit margin of 3.3% times the new sales. Now this is total sales of 2,200. And we're going to keep 1 minus the payout ratio. Remember I mentioned the retention is 1 minus that. And the result of that is we're going to earn and keep 50.60. And the amount of AFN, therefore, is the amount of assets we need minus the spontaneous liabilities minus the profits that we keep. And the answer is 61.4. So 61.4 represents the amount of capital that we need, which is not good news because by needing it, that means we don't have it. This would lead to the position where the CFO of Hatfield needs to find that money, whether that is from borrowing money or for selling stock or from altering some of the assumptions in this estimate. It could be that any of these 4 levers could be managed. In other words, can we get by with less assets for every dollar of sales? So that would make the total need lower. Or can we negotiate better terms with our vendors such that the spontaneous liabilities as a percent of sales goes up and more of the funding comes from vendors? Or can we make more money by having better management of our costs such that our profit margin rises? Or do we tell our shareholders that, you know what, we're growing at a very high rate, so therefore we're going to suspend or lower the dividend rate? Any of these actions, or collectively, all of these actions, could serve to reduce the AFN. So AFN is a number, in this case 61, but it's something that we can manage by pulling or pushing on any of these 4 levers. The amount of asset intensity, the liabilities negotiated with vendors, the profit margin from running our business in a smarter way, and the dividend policy we set as a board on what of the profit we give out to our shareholders and which amount of the profits we keep to pay for our own growth. So that's AFN, a very important and, as you can see, not a difficult tool.